When football clubs first began to organize in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the shirts players wore were purely functional. They carried the colors of the club, sometimes adorned with a badge or initials, but little else. The idea that these jerseys could one day be prime advertising real estate would have seemed unimaginable to players and fans in those early years. Football was still considered a gentleman's pastime, and commercialism had yet to leave its mark on the pitch. By the 1950s and 1960s, football was already turning into a major spectator sport, broadcast on radio and increasingly on television. Clubs began to realize the commercial potentials surrounding the game, yet the notion of placing company names on jerseys was still largely taboo. Shirts were symbols of pride and identity, and many federations imposed strict regulations against any form of advertising on them. Fans, too, often expressed resistance, fearing it would cheapen the sport's traditions. The breakthrough moment came in 1973 in West Germany. The small club Eintracht Braunschweig struck a deal with the liquor company Jägermeister, agreeing to place its distinctive stag logo on the team's shirts. It caused controversy, with the German Football Association initially opposing the move, but the club found a loophole by redesigning its badge to resemble the sponsor's logo. This bold move is widely recognized as the start of football shirt sponsorship in Europe. Not long after, the practice began to spread. By the late 1970s, sponsorship deals were appearing in countries like France and Austria, though resistance remained strong in places like England. The English Football League, for example, initially banned sponsors from appearing on jerseys, allowing only small manufacturer logos. But the lure of money was powerful, especially for clubs struggling financially. In 1979, history was made in England when non-league Kettering Town became the first club to wear a sponsor's logo, Kettering Tires, on their shirts. The Football Association demanded its removal after just one game, but the precedent had been set. A few years later, in 1980, Liverpool signed a groundbreaking deal with Hitachi, becoming the first major English club to wear sponsored jerseys. What once seemed radical was quickly becoming normalized. The 1980s and 1990s saw the floodgates open. Clubs across Europe and beyond embraced sponsorships as a crucial source of revenue. Deals grew in size and sophistication, moving from local businesses to multinational corporations. Italian clubs like AC Milan and Juventus struck partnerships with major brands, while in Spain, Real Madrid and Barcelona eventually joined the wave, though they were somewhat slower to embrace sponsors on their hallowed shirts. Television played a huge role in fueling this growth. As football became a global spectacle with matches broadcast to millions of viewers, the value of a logo on a shirt skyrocketed. A sponsor's name was no longer just seen by the tens of thousands in the stadium, it was seen worldwide. Companies realized that sponsoring a football club was one of the most effective ways to gain brand recognition, particularly as the sport began to attract fans from all corners of the globe. By the 2000s, shirt sponsorships had become one of the most lucrative aspects of football business. Clubs negotiated multi-million-dollar deals with banks, airlines, and consumer brands. Manchester United's partnership with AIG, Chelsea's deal with Samsung, and Real Madrid's long association with Bwin highlighted the scale of the industry. Sponsorship money helped clubs sign star players, modernize stadiums, and compete at the highest level. However, this commercialization was not without controversy. Critics argued that the tradition of the club shirt was being overshadowed by corporate interests. Some sponsors were linked to industries such as alcohol, gambling, or fast food, raising questions about the values being promoted through football. Fans often expressed mixed feelings, proud of the revenue these deals generated, but wary of losing the authenticity of their club's identity. Interestingly, a few clubs managed to resist the trend for longer than most. Barcelona, for example, famously refused to carry commercial sponsors on their shirts until 2006, when they struck a unique partnership with UNICEF, donating money to the charity in exchange for displaying its logo. It was only later that the club fully embraced corporate sponsorships, signing record-breaking deals with companies like Qatar Airways and Rakuten. As the sport entered the 2010s and 2020s, shirt sponsorship became not only about the logo, but about global branding strategies. Sponsors were often chosen for their ability to expand a club's influence in key markets, such as Asia or North America. Airlines like Emirates and Etihad, tech companies like Spotify, and financial services firms used football as a gateway to global audiences. The shirt had become more than just fabric. It was a billboard worn by some of the most recognized athletes on the planet. Today, sponsorship on football jerseys is so deeply embedded that it is hard to imagine the game without it. For clubs, it is a financial lifeline. For sponsors, it is a marketing goldmine. And for fans, it has become part of the visual culture of football. From the modest beginnings in Braunschweig with Jägermeister to the billion-dollar deals of modern giants, the story of shirt sponsorship is one of football's most striking transformations, an evolution that reflects not only the commercialization of the sport, but also its rise as a truly global industry.